Hello and welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at something massive and extremely impressive, which isn't a ship and isn't a base. This is more of an entity that will float around in your world, and it will perhaps be friendly or perhaps be hostile. This is the Kagumi Space Whale, which is this lovely thing over here. So this is just a gigantic space whale that will float around in space. It's armed with a railgun where if it's hostile, it'll turn towards you and try to fire it at you or at your ship. So pressing F10 and finding this in the spawn menu, the space whale is 11,317 small blocks using no DLC packs, no mods and no scripts. We've got a little bit of a story behind this thing at the top of the Steam Workshop page, but if we scroll down just a little bit, we've got this important piece of detail where it states that the behavior of the whale will randomize every 4 minutes thanks to timers, but if you get within 30 meters of it, regardless of how it's acting, it will become hostile. So we'll give this thing a thumbs up. We'll have a quick look around the outside, then I'll power up and actually let it do its thing. So at the moment it's in a depowered state because it's quite hard to keep this thing still because it's got a mind of its own. So what we'll do is come all around towards the very front, and this is what we get. Do mind the frame rate because this is a very taxing design. So at the very front, what we got is a camera for the whale to aim its railgun. Just below that, inside its mouth, we can see the railgun, which is going to be used to blast you, your ship, or any kind of base it comes across. If I were to move around onto the side, this is what we get. We can see the bottom of the mouth, which will open and close randomly as it floats along space. And we've got some lovely detail going all the way along the very front. Over onto this section, these are the eyes which will attempt to follow you around if you start to get close. We've got 2 cameras and 2 spotlights to give it a ominous look. Then moving along the main body, we'll come back to the little fins a bit later on, but this is all we get. So we see some great use of our color blocks, making up that great pattern going all the way along it. Along the top there is a couple more fins made out of some window blocks. Then going towards the back, we've got these very interesting little tendrils, essentially, where they come across onto steel blocks onto hinges. And these are what are very taxing on my system, so these are going to be wobbling around, changing their shape as it flies along, almost like a current is pushing it around. But we'll get a better look at that in just a minute. And this is the very back on its fin, where you can once again see some rotors and hinges. I'll go all the way across towards the back, and they will move like little tendril parts up and down as if it's going through water. For the moment, we'll now come back to the fins on the side, get a better look at them. And this is what we get. So it just comes across from the main body, and it's just a bunch of window blocks and steel blocks that will just fold out every now and again. And there we go. Getting a better look at the tendrils at the back. I'm not actually sure what they're called, so I am just calling them tendrils. There we go. We've got some nice detail on that with our armored panels. They'll just come all the way across and curve all the way around. These are very long things and they look very impressive while in motion. There we go. If we were to go all the way up and start to look down at the fins at the back, we've got a lovely color scheme going all the way along towards the tip. Then for the main body itself, this is what we get. Just moving all the way along, ignoring the little fins on the side there. With some great use for our piston heads. We can see how each individual section of the whale has been separated so it can move around a little bit like an actual whale body would. Going along the main body. There we go, just pulling away from that. That's where I'm standing. And then towards the front, there is the face. And there is the end where the camera is sitting. Coming down and underneath, this is all we can see. If I put my light on for the moment, some more great use for our piston heads. We can clearly see how our fins and our little tendril parts have been attached onto the main body. Then going along towards the tail at the end. There we go. We see that it's been slightly curved already because it has been wandering around a bit. It's quite hard to actually get this thing to stop moving. And there we go. And one final thing to do is, of course, put the camera all the way through the middle of the whale so you can see exactly what's going on and how it's running. So if we have to come all the way through here, we can't really see too much on this section. If we have to come all the way across, past all of our blaster edge blocks, we can see once again a bunch of hinges, a bunch of rotors in the middle of the body. Like I said earlier, this is how the body sections are going to pivot around, make it actually look like it's moving, make it actually look like it's alive. Then going towards the main section here, this is all we can see. Here we're going along towards the very front, we should get to our face where we can see our railgun. And there's a few thrusters to help push it around. And here we are at the very front. We can see the back of our railgun, we can see a bunch more rotors, a bunch more ion thrusters, and a bunch of time blocks to make this thing function in its entirety. It's a very, very impressive design. I do want to know how long this actually took to set up and to actually get functional. Then over here we can see a lot more ion thrusters, there's some more batteries, there's some more gyroscopes, I believe I called them rotors earlier. And then towards the front here, we've got even more thrusters, even more gyroscopes. There we go. And out the front there is this little face. But that is a very brief look around the outside, and does look bloody fantastic. That is that from a distance. And it is a very menacing sight when it's actually all moving. But now it's time for me to remove this one from the world and then paste in a brand new one, and it will activate by itself and be on its merry way. And there we go, look at all those green boxes covering everything. That is just how complicated this design actually is. And there is the PCU count of 67,563. This is a very taxing design, as I said earlier. But pasting this in, it will instantly start up and start moving around. And I'll hide the HUD and I'll move away, hoping my character is further enough away so it doesn't go hostile. I will just see how it acts. But there we go, it's now moving around. You can see all the sections moving. If I was to pull the camera slightly away, we can see how his eyes are moving around there. We can see the ominous glow coming for it. But that is how it's moving around. That is how the little tendrils at the back are moving, and of course how the fins are moving up and down. Now I am in my character currently, so it might become hostile and try to turn towards me and aim the railgun. But that is how it moves around. It is quite a speedy little bugger. Look at that thing go. So we'll cover a lot of distance in a short amount of time. Just turning away from that, you can see how low the frame rates are when this thing is moving around. But there is the tail at the back there, just moving around. Was to find the free camera and come over to this part. There we go, we just let them fly off into the distance, but we see all of that moving around. And that is a fantastic and absolute glorious sight to see. Now if we have to move a bit closer to it, let's come over to this section and have a look at that. There we go, we can see how the individual parts of the body are moving up and down, so it makes it look like it is swimming through the ocean. And there we go at the very back. But now what I'm going to do is just grab hold of my character and chase after it. There it is from a distance. I do absolutely love it when you look at it like that, how it's just moving around. It feels so alive. The creator has done such a great job at giving this thing life. But yes, as I was saying, let me bring the character all the way towards the front, and it will get a little bit hostile, and will attempt to shoot the railgun. But to make it a bit easier on the whale, I will come across to the front, and there we go. It missed completely, but it is quite hostile, quite angry against me. In fact, it might try and eat me. I'm going to sit here and let the whale attempt to eat me. There it goes, it's trying to open up his mouth. And we might just bump into the top. Oh, wait, it's doing a really good job. It's now got me in the mouth and point blank with the railgun. And there we go. I'm just going to come up to here, come around past the railgun if I can. I think my character's a bit too big for that. Now I'm on the inside and it's going to close up the mouth. And now I'm stuck in the middle. And there we go, that is pretty much it for the Space Whale. It's an absolute fantastic, absolute glorious design, and I highly recommend you download and check it out in your world. One hell of a lot of hours has been put into this, and yes, it's just extremely impressive. No words can actually describe how impressive this thing actually is. So there'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download it and play around with it yourself. Highly recommend you do, and I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.